Hello, everybody. To whoever's joining, welcome to the hangout session. You can go, Zipper.
Hello, hey everybody, welcome.
Hello. Hello, everybody.
So the first question was actually, will the HCC collapsing mechanic remain, or is that being changed or something else? Well, here's the thing. I'm happy to announce that this Q&A session is also a prelude to our DD. We'll be releasing a DD later today, the voluntary, about some mechanics that will be explained here. So we'll be talking about religious mechanics and not that jazz. So very nice. This will be the whole collapse mechanic will be using a new form for the Calvinism Reformation, using a new dynamic faith system. We'll
implemented by Null.
Yes, our brave coder Null Pointer has created a very dynamic system for the HCC to utterly lose its mind. It's good fun.
Yes. Null Pointer will be equally implemented. A very nice system where after the start of the corruption appeal, some new religions can spawn, which couldn't before. Anyways, are there more than 3 and 4 Catholic religions that are descendant from Catholicism in Brazil? Here's an answer by Null Pointer. Yeah, there are more than 3 or 4 Protestant descendant religions in Brazil, let alone Catholic. What is the coolest religion feature that you guys have implemented so far? This one is by me. I really like the presidency system that AOD and Caden implemented. And this one is by Null Pointer. I really like the presidency system. The most mind-blowing when it triggers is True Messianism, and the most fun to play with is Walking Metamorphosis. And this one is by Tommy, Holy Order Religious Head, by Null Pointer and AOD. AOD is really a treat to work with.
Thank you, so much praise.
I'm going to be throwing a little screenshot of the presidency mechanic in the teasers channel in just a second here.
Yes.
We wanted to stream this, but it looks like Discord's not allowing us to, so we're just going to have to do it this way.
Could you show us how the religion system fully works? Are there sister faiths that hate each other, but should tolerate cousin faiths? Are there sister faiths that love each other, but which despise cousin faiths? Well, after this DD, there will be another one, talking more in depth about the tolerance system. It's much more robust and diverse than in CK2, because of the next answer. How many special relationship doctrines like ecumenism in base game do you have? We have over 20 of them, and you'll be happy to hear about them in the second part of the religious DD. It's probably the biggest DD we have ever made. So this is where, after we shower you guys with new, cool information, we now shower you guys with disappointment. How many... will there be an option to stop consumerism from spawning? Ties into 3 other questions. Will colonial invaders come with release or ever be ported to ATCK3? Will courtiers and merchants from overseas return? And what religions will they follow? And is Genghis Greed going to appear? I'm gonna use the Crux answer for this one. We intended to have all of these eventually, but it's kind of thing that we are saving for after the initial release. Hopefully, they will also allow us to design unique faiths for everything and unique mechanics for everything.
Oh, Nico, I think Cruxador's here. You might want to let him in.
Oh, is Crux here? Let me check. Oh my god, it's Crux. Hello, Crux.
Hey.
This is our guy. He needs to accept the thing now, right? Hello, Crux.
Hello, folks. Yes. Just a couple seconds late there. To disrupt, sorry, go ahead. Continue.
So, continuing. I know it has seen the general area before, but more specifically, will Minneapolis St. Paul be one county? And what culture and religion are they going to be? So this one was answered by Artful Orpheus. The Twin Cities region has a number of tweaks. The splitting it from the north culturally to make it more distinct. It has also tried to make the culture reflect the unique minority groups of the region, including the Hmong and the Somali names for characters. Also, because one of our local apps, Ali, is from the area, we have made the capital of Minnesota a distinct county.
I'm gonna post a screenshot of that in just a second here.
How does the size of the map compare to vanilla CK3? This one is yours, Trunks.
What are we looking at here?
We're looking for a question. How does the size of the map compare to vanilla CK3?
So that is something that has, well, it's increased by about, compared to CK3, about 15%. Vanilla, compared to CK2, I have no idea how, but we've increased a lot, of course. That should work okay on everybody's computers. I think it works okay on ours.
Have we made a final decision on Svalbard's inclusion yet? This one is answered by no pointer. Yes. Which religions or cultures, if any, have changed drastically from their incarnations in CK2? This one also was answered by no pointer in part, but also to a bunch of other people. Have a bunch of information here. Christianity as a whole has been changed. Americanism and Trailwalkers get major reports. Some of these are covered in our new DD. It's coming out after this stream. The American Midwest has been pretty drastically tweaked, featuring a number of brand new and expanded religions. Latin America has also seen a massive tweak, making it more resonant to local belief. This one is powerful. We have split the Sioux into the Lakota, the Dakota, and the Nakota. The Muskogee has also been split into the Choctaw, Chickasaw, and the Muskogee and the Seminole. 6 new indigenous cultures have been added in Mexico, have added some big groups in the US that were missing from CK2, like the Lumbee and the Yakama. The name list for almost every single indigenous culture has been redone. This one was answered by Okom. Several cultures have also been cut or have been drastically changed. Afro-Cubano, Shiraki, Pradanachi, Angelusi, Tarangelino, Kalaotian, Chino, Muisca, Melungeon, Catalba, Filistino, and Neomore, Shaban, and all of those are not in CK3. Neomore only filled a gameplay role because of renaming realms, but we're now tying that to Orientalism. All of the overseas cultures, due to our plans to move them, are not included as of now. We have also made a major thing. We are including religions that we couldn't before, like the Sikhs, and a couple of other Dharmic adjacent religions in Canada and the US and in the Amazon. We have also seen some changes in the Southwest. The Atomicists have lost a lot of land, and there's a bunch of other minor things. Then someone asked, in all caps, will Atomicists get hella dope in-game clothing options like in the art? This one was also answered by Cracksador.
Oh yeah, this isn't something we have the assets for, even existing or implemented yet. When we do art, a lot of the time, it's a concept art as well as serving like a loading screen purpose. So it's something we'd like to have, but we haven't made it yet. If we'd already made it, then we wouldn't have been on the short list for the art. We might push that art a little back because we know what we're doing in that culture and that aesthetic already then.
The next question is, what are the plans for non-Christian religions in Brazil? And we have a bunch of faiths planned. We have native faiths, African descendant faiths, neo-Nipponic faiths, spiritist faiths, one astronomer faith, vernacular style, new pagan faiths, and according to No Pointer, the coolest OOC religion from all of the Americas with 5 unique faiths. In fact, I would go far as to say that in the current build, the plurality of faiths in Brazil are not Christian. Next question, will there be more Afro-syncretic faiths and religions? The thing is, because of the rework, we don't have Afro-syncretic as a category anymore, but there are definitely more faiths that could be described in that way. pretty much all the religions in that group in CK2 have been diversified into multiple faiths. And there's some new things in South America too. Will there be additional Jewish Muslim faiths in CK3? Yes. And will there be any syncretic faiths combining Judaism, Christianity, and Islam into a new unified Abrahamic faith? No. Are there any post-prophets or beginners of new Abrahamic groups? This one also answered by Cruxador.
Oh yeah, we don't have any groups that are specifically started by post-event prophets. We do have new Abrahamic groups in general, and related to this, you might be interested in the True Messianism Tenet, which I believe will be shown in the upcoming dev diary. Possibly we'll get a screenshot of that in the chat. That's going to allow things like that to happen dynamically during play.
Okay, so continuing on. What are some of your favorite features from the CK2 version that have been ported over? And this one is called Elzafor.
Oh, yeah. Okay, guys, remember the zombies? The zombies are so cool. And I fully implemented them as a new character interaction. So if you imprison someone, you can right-click on them if you have the Tenet service with both hands. And you can right-click on them and say, Zombify, and they will be turned into a zombie, which is a trait that gives a big malice to a bunch of your skills and your health and your prowess, and gives the person who zombified you a strong hook on you. So we've integrated with the hook system in CK3. That means if you make a zombie, you can now more or less order them around for a while. And that's a great way to get strong hooks if you're a character that's not super high in intrigue, but has happened to take someone prisoner in a war, for example. So it's good fun. I'll post some screenshots of that in a sec.
Thank you, Elzafor. There's also another answer. This one is by Olestev. They really liked porting over the hiking events. And Tommy, who really liked the American election system that we ported over.
Yeah, I agree with the elections too. They're a lot more robust now because they are built more directly into the user interface and into the system. So they should also be easier to figure out what's going on and work more solidly.
Continuing on, will the mouse still be a power in Florida? And this one, actually, when we were testing it for the stream, I put it right here because last time we tried, Ellis Walton became the president. So that's good. They also get a new faith, if you want to talk about it, Crux.
Yep. New Imaginarian faith, which allows us to have a little more local character into it, as well as having its own ideology, which will be talked about more in the dev diary.
What are some very tentative ideas that you guys have for the Caribbean?
It's not tentative at all. We're done.
Very well thought through.
Caribbean, not only is it done and laid out, but it has got its bookmark in place, so you can look at all the different timelines. We've dialed back the storyline of the Caribbean Empire, so it's just time-wise, it hasn't formed yet. That allows us to have a little more focus on storylines going on different islands rather than everything focused in Jamaica. So we've got in the bookmark, each of the major islands has got marks that highlight the storylines going on there at the time of the game beginning.
Continuing on. What new Pacific religions are there? And this one was answered by yours truly, me. Due to reorganization of the faiths in the Harmonic faith family, the Pacific religions no longer exist as a category. Continuing on. This one is answered by AOD. How will California's bureaucracies be represented with them not being a base government in CK3?
Well, we've not quite got round to California yet, but there are a number of concepts that have been discussed, albeit in limited detail. What is certain is that everybody has an idea for how California should look.
How many unique government types do you guys plan on including? Seeing as you made Nomadic from scratch, I'm cautiously hopeful to see some more detailed geographical differences in government. This one was answered by Crux. Crux?
Oh yeah, we don't have a target number. We're just doing things to fill specific needs we have. It's something we're definitely gonna have to look at again. just because, like for example, we've got two governments with almost the same name, so we'll need to sort things out just more in a holistic fashion and get everything cleaned away.
Continuing on. What are your plans if vanilla CK3 updates governments that you're already working on, like nomads or republics, etc.? This one was answered by no bumper. Really depends on their implementation, since many of the governments represent very specific behaviors. Say the Plains nomads aren't necessarily the same as the Mongols, so probably we'll end up integrating those that make sense. Continuing on from that, we'll probably also be taking features that suit them best if we can. Continuing on, are there any plans to give some native groups in the Americas unique governments, or will they generally have the same sorts of governments as their neighbors? This one was answered quite also for.
It would be really cool. There aren't plans quite yet. Our philosophy right now is that making this thing work and be playable is a pretty massive task in and of itself. So right now we're just trying to get the basics down and functional and make sure everything works without being a buggy mess. And then afterwards we can start thinking of things like individual governments for different cultures and whatnot. But I do think things like a potlatch system would be really cool, and there's loads and loads of potential there. It's just not the priority yet.
Yeah, and there's also potential to represent some governmental things like that through cultural traditions too. So how exactly it breaks down, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Next question. It seems like a lot of cultures are being split up. Yankee into Lobsterman and Ontarians into Sixer. How many cultures are there, and how small are they? This one is answered by Bowmaster Flex. Most of the small cultures are really centered around the urban regions, cultures that differ from the rest of the state or the province because of the diversity of the area, so like Sixter, Carioca, and Gothamite. Lobsterman fits into that parameter by being an inland versus coastal split, essentially, that marks New England in its cities. As a result, I expect metro areas to have small cultures, while large areas like the Great Plains or the Cerrado will only have 4 or 5 cultures. South America also has a bunch of diaspora cultures sprinkled about. We are estimating around 350 cultures in total for now. Will the Assyrians and Armenians get representation in ATCK3? Several people answered these ones, but Lahom gave the final answer. Assyrians are represented in a few cultures in game. I think Angelino, Chicagoan, and Watowner. A ton of cultures have Armenian influence, with Angelino having the most. A few other Californian cultures, Sixer, Quebecois, Uruguayo, Porteño, and Paraíba, have some Armenian names as well. Next question, will there be a Tejano culture? Will they be in the Ported Starfall culture group, or a Chicano culture group, or something else entirely? This one is answered by Crexidor.
Yeah, we do have Tejano. Tejano is not leaving. Culture groups in Royal Court will be split, so there's both, instead of cultural groups, there's both a heritage and there's a language. So that allows us to do things where sort of borderline cultures such as Tejano can have a connection to 2 other cultures or cultural groups that way. So we're going to go with that. I don't know exactly what the final decision is on how we'll break it down for Tejano yet. But that's definitely going to show its connection to both sides.
Some questions about Royal Court now, which most of the answers for these are the same. Are there any planned melting pot cultures that are more unique, like Utahn and Neomore, Brazilian Quebecois, Motowner and Gothamite? As this is currently getting reworked for the Royal Court DLC, we don't have a definite answer for that, which is, yeah. There definitely were plans for certain cultures before the DLC was announced, so now we're just thinking about how we could integrate into that. The next question being, how will you handle the issue around popular opinion and ways to decrease the negative side of having a culture without needing to convert a county? This one is answered by Crixador.
It's a matter of balance. So ideally, if everything works well in Royal Court, then it'll work just fine in After the End, and that will, if it doesn't, then hopefully Paradox will fix it and we won't have to. Maybe we'll need to adjust some minor things, but probably not. I'll connect this to the next question too while I'm at it. which is about handling Native American languages in the mod or other languages that are used only very locally and in small groups. It's also something that's fundamentally a base game issue. If Paradox doesn't get it right, then maybe we need to adjust, or if what they get right only works in vanilla, then maybe we need to adjust. But it looks like they're getting pretty granular now with Cultures 2 compared to what we saw in earlier vanilla Dev Diaries. So I think we should be pretty much okay with not changing things compared to, or we wouldn't need to change anything balance-wise.
Continue from that, what will be done about cultural rivalries? We don't really know because, well, the DLC isn't out yet, so we don't fully know how the mechanic works. So currently, we're just speculating a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
What with Royal Court adding languages? How many English originating languages will there be? Nothing is definite.
Basically the same answer.
Yeah, nothing is definitive yet. Will indigenous designs be modeled for indigenous royal courts after the DLC drops? Are there any worries of misrepresentation with something as intricate as the design of a whole room?
Yeah, that's something we want to do. We're not really aiming to have that for the initial release just because that's a lot of 3D modeling that could slow things down a lot. As far as representation goes, we want to be accurate and respectful, of course. If there's something we can't show or where it might be like gaps, then we can sort of fill that in with post-apocalyptic things that make it more cohesive without stepping on things that shouldn't be, shared.
Just
Plus
on that
modeling,
as well.
you can go with it.
Thanks. Modeling is a ton of work, and we don't have a whole lot of resources on that right now. So if you know a talented 3D modder who would like to work very long hours for absolutely no pay or reward, send them our way.
Yes. If AT takes longer than Royal Courts to come out, will you guys incorporate the update? Or will the Royal Courts be incorporated for the second ATE update? You can go, Cruxador, this is yours.
Yeah, we're expecting the Royal Court to release first. Chance that doesn't happen is, negligible, really. So, once we release that, the initial release will run on whatever the latest patch of Crusader Kings 3 is. We're probably not going to have every feature for Royal Court implemented in a really fulfilling and thorough way, but things like cultures need to be there because otherwise it's not going to work. And more traditions and models for artifacts and things like that might be in subsequent releases. So, but basic stuff is going to be there for sure, and it will run on the latest version of the game.
Yes. How do you guys balance the different regional teams that work in the mod? And how do you measure or value an input or suggestion of other devs that may not be from a region or knowledgeable of it? Go, Crux.
Team divisions are not incredibly formalized. It's more like people just have different things they know or different areas of focus. So we're not doing things concurrently with different regional teams. What we're doing instead, actually, is we've got a focus period system. So for each 2 weeks, we pick two generally de jure empire regions, and then we focus on those areas and try to get them done. Those areas are just picked by voting. When it comes to measuring the value of people's opinions, we also don't have a very formalized way of doing that. It's not really necessary, frankly, to be incredibly formal about these things. So what we do is we just take into account, who knows what, who's making a clear case where we can all understand this is why it should be that way. Nothing works perfectly all the time. Sometimes there's a little bit of butting heads, but lately it's been pretty smooth. And if it comes to a place where we can't get to a consensus or people are getting upset, and June or I will make a decision and put our foot down, but it's actually rarely quite necessary. Usually we do get to a consensus based on either compelling arguments or just through a matter of ergocracy, where whoever's doing the most work gets it done, then it's done, and that's a pretty compelling argument in itself as well.
Continuing on, how do you determine what happens in the CK3 suggestions and what gets added into the game? This one is answered by Cruxador, sorry, but I know Elsa has some additional commentary.
Yeah, this is basically the same as how we do things internally. Talk about if it's a good idea, And if it would conflict with something else, sometimes people talking publicly don't know what's going on behind the curtain, so it might seem like a good idea, but we have other conflicting issues, or it's not as good an idea for technical reasons. Of course, it has to be a little bit of a good idea for it to even get brought up in the dev chat, but it works basically the same.
Yeah, and I was just going to add that, to manage expectations, it's already quite a lot on our plate to get just the basics working. So, if you've made what you think is a really good suggestion and the thing comes out and you're like, what the heck, why isn't this in there? Don't worry, it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means we didn't have the time or the resources to get to it. And it doesn't mean we might not come back to it later if it works out.
Yeah, a lot of good ideas that come up are for very specific regions, and they take a considerable amount of implementation for a fairly narrow focus. So they're good ideas, but they're not high priority ideas.
Yeah, that's it. There's a ton of work here, and we just had to work those priorities.
The next question is, will End CK3 be functional as a Steam Workshop mod? This one is also answered by Kretsu.
Oh yeah, of course we want it to be. It's gonna be on Steam, and problem with the Crusader Kings 2 version was not something we had control over. It was caused by their compression algorithm. It happened to other Crusader Kings 2 mods as well. Hopefully that won't be the problem this time. If it is, then we'll still have to recommend not getting it from that source. I've heard that things are better now as far as the compression algorithm goes, but we won't know for sure until we see how our mod works on it.
Next one is, how many man hours have been poured into the code mines? And I'm gonna answer this with no and also for. And this one was answered by no first. We don't have a time estimation, but no counts around at least 3,000 code commits, with over 16k files being committed. It's a lot. It's like thousands of hours already. So if we were getting paid, you guys would have to pay us millions of dollars. But
yes, that's not an exaggeration. Game development isn't that cheap. You've put in, thousands just in implementation. If you count meetings and discussions, tens of thousands. That is in the probably lower single digits, but still of millions of US dollars.
Elsevier also has another note to add.
Yeah, so there's all that work, and I just wanted to emphasize that we've made a whole 2 continents in CK3's game engine, and that took the better part of a year, and not just here and there. A year of like a team of, I want to say, like at one point 10 or 20 people staring at Google Maps, pixel by pixel, mapping out coastlines, rivers, drawing mountains. Just to get the general shape of the things took months. And then the shape of the continents, took months. And then once that was done, we had to go over and draw every single barony, every single county, paint the trees and the terrain onto it. It was all just this big, green slob when we started. And we had to, artistically go and, put every individual tree down. And there was a point at which we had people in Europe and people in South America and people in North America trading shifts over the time zones so that at all times someone was working at getting the thing done. It was really an extraordinary amount of work, and I'm really proud that it's gotten to this state alone. So yeah, donate to the Patreon, because if we were getting paid, we'd be rich people.
Yeah. And for some perspective, I did only a small portion of the mapping myself, but there was a point where I had a week off. I basically worked on the mod full time and did mapping the whole time. And I made only a small portion, a fairly significant, but still only a portion of one step of the process, and not a big step compared to the drawing on graphical terrain, which was the biggest.
The next question is, do you guys gossip in private voice chat channels? And then there's a flushed emoji. Bowmaster said that he frequently gossips in private VC channels, and Vesref said that he never gossips in private VC channels. Krux said, however...
Oh yeah, not about you guys.
And Elderfor said...
Exclusively about you guys.
Ozdev said that's all we ever do, and that's true. We actually never have implemented a single line of code. It is all trickery.
All that map stuff we just said was a lie.
Yeah.
It's all
Yes.
just gossip.
Dev team member's favorite food, and then Tommy goes on a rant about how burgers are really good, and then Bowmaster says fried chicken.
The correct answer.
Elzevor also likes fried chicken. Ozdev loves hot wings. Vesrov likes barbecue ribs. Ekans likes al pastor tacos. I like picanha carbonara with beirut and falafels. Cruxador said that he really likes chili meal with beans and rice.
Yeah.
But he also likes Pontano Maduro.
There's no other, objectively correct option besides that.
Artful said that he really likes Navratan Korma. No Pointer said that he really likes falafel kebabs, or Italian sausage, or and katupiri pizza. And katupiri pizza is also objectively a correct answer. Panically said that pulled pork with vinegar-based sauce. Doodlebot said that they really like gumbo. Any combination of cheese and tomato. AOD said,
Wonderful.
AOD said, however, that he really likes sausage and mosh, and Lahome said
Mash.
Lahome said that he likes a glass of water. Tiful said that he really likes Montreal Reuben at a restaurant. The next question is, are y'all considering giving OPB a test version of ATE CK3? That's a lot of acronyms.
Yeah, we will, I think, because I'm pretty sure he will want to at some point do it. But we're not to the closed beta period, so that's the period when basically every area, well, literally every area of the map will be basically done. And right now, we've got some parts that are pretty much entirely done, and we've got some parts that are functional, but they need some more. And we might as well give it to him once we can show off what it's going to look like, instead of having broken things mixed in with not broken things. And even the parts that are done, we would like to do another pass and make double sure just that everything is good.
Next question is, I hate to be the guy to ask the question of what date this will be released, because it probably isn't known yet and has been asked a million times, but is there at least a development roadmap?
Yes.
So release when?
So, even internally, we don't have a date that's specific or anything like that. The organization is going well. We're doing about an empire per week, or 2 empires per 2 weeks, is how we break it down, with a focus area framework. So that gives us a clear timeline, but that timeline doesn't take us all the way to the end. Once that's done, we're going to need to go over, clean up some final things. We did take off these 2 Christmas weeks and got some of that stuff done without focusing on a single focus period. But still, after that period, there'll be some more cleanup. There'll be the royal court stuff as well. So we don't really know how long that's going to take. We can take a guess, but it's still just a guess. And it's an educated guess because we've seen the dev diaries and things like that. But because of that, we can't give a super clear answer even to ourselves. And if it turns out that there's things we didn't expect, then it'll take longer. And even once that's done, then we're going to go into closed beta. Because there will be a lot of bugs in the game. There must be. And we find them sometimes, but we can't find everything. How long that takes, we also don't know. So that could be a while. Once all that's done, then we're going to release. But it's too much variables to give a clear release date. It's pretty for sure at this point that it will be in the year 2022, rather than 2023, and rather than this year.
Yes, now that's all of it over. We're now switching to live questions by checking first the questions you guys sent before. If you guys can excuse me, I'll be going to the bathroom. Have a go at it, guys.
Okay. We've got some questions that were aggregated that were asked while we were talking.
Yeah. Let's start with those then.
All right. So let me take a look at the list here. Will there still be Mormons in After the End? Yeah,
Yep.
Yes,
We got
definitely. They're
absolutely.
in there.
Will there be a Hoosier culture in Indiana? I don't remember. Did we call it that?
We haven't done the Great Lakes focus yet, so no promises.
Yeah, it could change. Will there be other faiths that use the Americanist election system or something similar? Right now, the answer to that is no. Maybe it's possible that it could be possible if it's governed by a special
Yeah.
doctrine.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just Americanist faiths with the freedom of speech doctrine. Did we
Yeah.
talk about that in the upcoming Dev Diary?
Yeah, that's in the Dev Diary.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next question: does Desert, Texas, have weird borders, like in Crusader Kings 2, or proper ones? We didn't.
We also haven't done Texas yet, so
No.
not sure yet. No,
Right now,
that's
they're
not to
looking
say,
pretty.
yeah, we did one pass on there to sure.
Yeah, it's looking pretty proper, more or less, I think. But the borders won't be exactly the same as right now because we don't want straight line borders in a medieval setting. It doesn't really make sense. Will there be a way to reconcile the Catholics and Maritimes religion? No, we don't have any reconciliations in right now. Characters with story events. Nope, that's not 1.0 or not initial release scope.
Doing that later,
any-
probably.
Anything special for ruling all of the Americas? No.
You win.
It would be good for like an achievement if it was the whole game, but at that point you're basically done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Argentina still home to bandits and hordes?
Well,
Like in real life, I assume they mean.
kind of. There's nomads there, and there's certainly a bunch of new religions and new warlords, but it's just a thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We do have gauchos.
Oh,
If that's what the person was getting at.
yes. 9.
Nope.
No more Gaia. Certainly still Gaia, guys. Gaia
Yeah.
is not getting.
Oh yeah.
Gaia is not
Specific
going
religion
anywhere.
group is gone, is what I think caused this question to be asked. The
Ah,
group is gone, but the things within it are just distributed differently.
Yes.
Will the seed vault on that island in the north be a special building, or will it exist at all?
no questions
Right
about
now, I
the island in
don't-
the north.
No questions about the island in the north.
Alright, it doesn't exist right now, I can say that much. We need to ask, are there any other mods you've been working with specifically in terms of compatibility or special things?
Not really.
Not in terms of compatibility. Fallen Eagle
No.
has got the same nomad structure as us, which is because of French. Respublica is integrated
Yeah.
into After the End, so that's sort of the big one, I think.
Like Aiden helped us with all or in fact, he did most of the stuff that you'll see with the Americanist GUI and events and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, he's great at that GUI coding.
Yeah, really good at that.
Caden's pretty great.
Yeah.
He's a wizard.
Will the
Alright.
mission trait be returning?
As of right now, it's not. That doesn't mean it never will, but
Yeah.
trait additions is not what we're working on now.
Yes. Will Americanist countries have the option to become a kind of warped democracy where elections are also influenced by the population / development / number of counties and / number of the ruler currently holds? I have opinions about that, but currently no. Currently
Nope.
they're
Let's see, the Guantanamo Bay thing was answered in chat. It's not still Americanist. Will Paraguayan culture have the chance to be of being natively bilingual? It doesn't look like Royal Court supports any kind of native bilinguality, which would mean no.
Yes, but don't have to worry about that. We have a solution for that. Continuing, lore-wise, do you believe that the changes made for CK3 version are mostly complete, or is there more of a thing that is unsure about some mulling over? There's something
So that-
some mulling over.
Yeah, that ties into the focus regions. focus regions that are done are pretty much complete. There's always a possibility for some change, but those are at least complete enough to launch with, and they're more in need of like there's bugs and things like that. The ones that we haven't got to yet, which is only a few now at this point, there may be some more lore working on that, especially California. Everybody has opinions about.
Yeah. Dear devs, which area of the map sees the most raiders in the testing version?
That's kind of hard to answer because the rating over rivers isn't quite functional. Not that it won't work, it's just we're waiting for Royal Court to actually do the work to implement it. Because that's going to change other cultures anyways.
Yeah, and the raid over the way river systems are implemented currently is a bit buggy. You get to see California conquering parts of the map it shouldn't, etc., etc. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, so don't know yet.
Yeah, essentially.
So the question about Caribbean Hinduism, which was actually asked previously, has come up again. I can go over that a little bit. So we've got Samaji Hinduism and Sanatani Hinduism, which is let me just find what Artful Orpheus wrote about it. It's somewhere here. But essentially, we've got a form of Hinduism that is most common one there. In Crusader Kings 2, we just ported over the one that was in the base game, basically. In 3, we've got the one that's most common in the Guyana region. And then we've also got kind of a Reform Hinduism that is it's described a little bit like more of a Protestant Reformation type of, or equivalent to that. And it rejects idols and focuses on the Vedas in particular, and rejects some other reforms as well. So that's something that, yeah, there's more diversity there, and it's more specific to our region compared to something that's more old world centered.
Yes.
It was mentioned we have Sikhism and things as well, other Indian faiths.
Yes. Can I reveal a minor thing? Or
Sure.
we also will be having Baha'i in the game. So
Yes.
stay tuned in for that. Continuing on, have any major changes come to the Holy Colombian Confederacy in the American South compared to the CK2 version? That ties into the last question. But continuing on, guys. Well, both the Revelationists and the ACC have some new mechanics. Besides that, we are reworking their culture setup and reworking how the Culverton appeal works. Besides that, not much else.
There's a question here about if there's a private lore Bible that devs can reference that includes story information that won't be made public. Not really.
No.
Maybe should be, but what we do have is a wiki that'll eventually be made public, but it's not very complete. We need to get more stuff on there.
Yes.
But that will be shared with everybody after release.
Yes. The plan is for essentially the game to always be the
primary source.
The primary source for everything. No need to read extensive documents about Voldemort. Continuing on, other than Minnesota, what is the most interesting spot in the map? Of course, it is Minas Gerais, the most important place in the world, the capital of America. Continuing on.
It's going to be very subjective, of course.
Continuing on, will the Maritimes control the Northeast, or will the only one kingdom? No, they won't. Continuing on, would you say any one area is completely finished right now? All of the areas that we finished the focus period on, they're complete.
Yeah. Finished in a kind of, it works, nothing's broken.
Yes, it works. By complete we mean it seems to fully work.
Yes.
In reality, nothing ever truly ends.
Yes.
So true.
We are always working on these things. So, 27. I heard tell of sage steppers being super base. What do they worship? Things. If you
Things and stuff.
Yeah, things. I'm gonna call Ozdev, are you there? Do you want to give a quick shout out about the Sage Steppers? Ask to be invited in.
It's your time.
While they're there, I'm gonna answer the next one. What do you tend to do with cultures which currently have hereditary positions? I don't fully get that question, so if you could clarify, please.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about either. Well, we can go some of these others. 29. Are we going to have more pagans? Yes.
Lots.
Yes, a lot more.
How are y'all designing character ethnicity that needs to be custom made for AT, and are y'all borrowing any generation from base game? Well, that's a rather technical question, I guess. The ethnicities are, like, we've implemented and added. Some of them maybe you can use a little touching up, but they're pretty good. At least they all work, and they're not, horrible or caricature looking. We've got mainly just a couple different indigenous groups, and we've got a few different mixed groups as well.
There's also another thing, because in our CK2 version, we used to have a diversity system, but now in CK3, that is fully integrated into the base game mechanics. So no need to worry about that, and that massive event file that was that.
Yep.
You
Paradox.
can answer the question about
Realize it should have been there.
Alright, so these Sage Steppers are, they're like they worship the Almighty like the other Trail Walkers. However, they deviate from the other from the other Trail Walkers with their belief that the Almighty will return someday, and when he returns, the ground will erupt with hundreds of thousands of skeletal steeds that will ride across the world for a final reckoning. Thank you.
See you.
Wow.
Thank you, Ozdev. Thank you for the clarifications.
Yeah.
Continuing on. How do you decide whether native cultures will be represented? I always advocate for more of them, and other people advocate for less of them.
Generally try to represent as much as we realistically or even remotely a little bit realistically can.
Yes.
Which does mean sometimes we've got some very tiny native cultures on the map. But is something.
I want to mention something on that as well. It's oftentimes, to create a culture in ACK3, you have to, get a full name list for them. And for some of these native cultures, especially the Amazon, that's meant that we've had to do some really intense research. Like reading anthropological texts from the 50s and the 20s, where someone actually went into an uncontacted tribe and wrote down a genealogy of who was there just to get what people's names were. So don't underestimate the amount of research that goes into this. It's a lot.
Continuing on. How many Jewish realms are currently panned other than the Jewish realm in New Jersey and Quebec? There are some. How many are actually, I think there's the ones in the Amazon, and there's some in the Brazilian coast. I don't know the specifics out of the top of my head, but there's some.
Yeah, it'll be a fun thing for you to find and play with yourself, I think.
Is Naviganti being capped? Maybe.
Yeah, I don't think we haven't done that focus region yet.
Yes. Any hints at the voodoo relationship?
They are in the same religion, and they're separate faiths.
Yeah.
In the rare event that an Altney makes their way to SoCal, will there be an event to let them restore Disney World? Well, that's a very minor thing, so for now, probably not.
Yes, that's the kind of
flavor
that
we specific. Don't have time for. No.
Yes. I will answer the next one. What is the Benzedado faith in Brazil? Is it some sort of full Catholicism like Sagrado for Mexico? Kind of. The Benza is a social system in Brazil. Like, it's about certain traditions of healing, certain traditional healing practices, certain people that have control of those medicinal herbs, and essentially around a bunch of more minor traditional practices and less of a simpler Catholicism. I'm still focusing on Catholic stuff. It's definitely a Christian faith though, so 37? Will Portia get anything special to aid in the conquest of the Caribbean? And what is this? Does she rule all of Jamaica at start?
That's one of those things that is not in scope for initial release, but it would be very near the top of the list for once we finally do get around to doing like specific character type things. So we want to do that, but probably not initial release.
Yeah,
And she does rule all of Jamaica. She also has some alliances and some other vassals as well.
Yes.
So the conquest has begun. It just hasn't been completed.
38. Which region of the mod has been the hardest to make?
Amazon. Good God.
Yeah, the Amazon will be the hardest religion to make, and we haven't even started the focus period for it yet because we're so afraid of it.
That's what I was mentioning about, just the anthropological material being so critical, but also so difficult to find. It's hard to do research on those cultures.
Even just having an amount of trees that looks good and accurate, but doesn't make your computer chug.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
39. Are there any European descendant Labradorians, or is the plan of a meta-style group?
Like people from Labrador?
Yeah.
Don't know if any plans.
No. It's all it's Labrador's only like. So they're all either Innu or Inuit.
Oh yeah. What is the philosophy on pop culture characters in End CK3?
There are different viewpoints on that. Overall, what we go with is like it shouldn't be obvious unless you know what you're looking at. So we try and change it a little bit. Something that you can it's a cheeky nudge, but it's not like we're just look, we put this character in here, isn't that funny?
For the one Dust Rider explanation, Mr. Moore is not here, so neither is Vesref, so no Dust Rider explanation. Sorry, guys.
I can say in the second part of the religion dev diary, the first part is already on the Patreon and is coming publicly soon. The second part will include Dust Rider,
yes.
At least as the current plan.
42, approximately how many culture-specific men-at-arms units are expected to be in the first release of CK3? I don't know.
It won't be a colossal amount, but there's definitely going to be at least a handful.
According to No Pointer, 22 so far. Is there any area of the mod that you haven't started on yet? A few. Those are the focus areas.
It depends what you mean, right? It's like the whole physical map is more or less done.
Yes.
We've done at least one pass of the de jure and the de facto for basically the whole thing. But it's a matter of actually doing a hard look at it rather than just being like, okay, that kind of works. So yeah, we've got a few focus regions left to polish. Polish being the operative word. Yeah.
I will say, I saw some work from another total overhaul map, and I was like, oh, they really haven't started. Everything we've started, we've got like a degree to where you could play it in the game, and it's not horrible. It's okay. And there might be some unlocalized things or some bugs. There's nothing where it's like, no, we've done nothing, or we've barely blocked in anything. None of the map is currently in that state.
Yes. Can you flip the map so you can see the map in the right view?
That's already in the right view.
Yeah, that's a vanilla feature. If you want, you can do that, but the names will always be wrong. I'm sorry, it's a problem in the CK3 region, not our problem.
Let me reassure you. Sorry, go ahead, Grex.
The sunrise being up is actually like the correct view over probably the majority of human history. So the idea of the like magnetic pole being up on the map is a bit of a modern exception.
Let me just say that as someone who spent the better part of 2 years staring at the map in its east-up orientation, you get used to it and fast.
You get used to it.
Doesn't take 2 years.
Favorite character you guys added? I have one. Can I tell it? There's Daniel Aidila, which represents the Finnish people in southern Rio de Janeiro. I really like that guy. He has a custom coat of arms and everything.
Yeah, there are some. We've posted a lot of coat of arms, but there are some really cool looking coat of arms that we've made for the mod.
Yeah, I want to tell you my favorite characters, but really, it's more fun just to leave them in as Easter eggs and have y'all find them.
Yes. Is how is the far east of the Russian-shaped peninsula on the map? A little bit for now.
Yeah, there's 2 counties of it.
How large must be a minority to have its own culture and AT? It depends on the place.
Generally, it should be enough where we can point to at least one county and say, yeah, this is a significant homeland of them. There's enough of them there where we can put them there.
Yes, and they need to at least have some names so we can like put them on the game.
We're generally pretty generous, though. If it's like,
Yes.
they're 5% of the population, that can sometimes work.
Will Bruce Wayne still exist in Gotham, and will Republics be present in New York City once the Republic DLC is released? We do have Republics already, but Bowmaster asked me specifically at the threat of physical violence not to respond to this question.
That's true.
52. New Wappies have been removed, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Can someone answer?
There have
I
been
think
some
so.
changes to how the tribes and their names and things have changed. But we did a dev diary on this, didn't we?
Yes.
That hasn't changed since we did the dev diary.
Yep.
Yeah, we've lost the titular titles in favor of de jure titles.
Mm-hmm. How will Republics work? We also did a dev diary on this.
Yeah, that's mostly the same as
Basically,
Res Publica,
yeah,
the mod.
we don't really have specific after the end versions of it.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you want to figure out if you want to see how Republics work, go just download the
Yeah.
Republica mod. Enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Will there be any changes to the vanilla tribal government and clan government? Not planned.
No, but we have the nomad government, which is like a variant of tribal now.
Yes.
Mm.
Theodemocratic staying? Not focused on yet, so we don't know.
No. I looked over there.
Those are the questions for now. We have 2 minutes left. If anyone wants to ask some other questions. How big of a streamer / YouTuber do you need to get early access? We not have fully discussed this yet, but like, OPP just has a certain audio relationship with most of the mods, so we just need to keep
I think
them around.
if anyone like with a bit of a following that asked us, we can talk about it and potentially work something out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Is California mostly staying the same? We answered this before. We don't fully know.
Yeah, California is one that there's a lot of things up in the air about.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Part of that, we can talk a little more. Part of that is just because it has a lot of bespoke mechanics in Crusader Kings 2. So, to what degree we want to port those, to what degree we want to adjust those to fit Crusader Kings 3, to what degree we want to come up with whole new things, that's still stuff that we have a lot of possibilities on, and we haven't yet decided which of these possibilities we really want to embrace, and also how much effort we're putting into it to make it really shine from the beginning versus making it functional and then building on it further.
We have a note from Null Pointer here.
Yes.
He wanted to make it clear that the mod is quite functional already, and we do have a lot of fun running hands-off simulation. I've had a couple of days off recently, and I've just been playing the game. And depending on where you are, if you're in one of those places where we've done the focus region, yeah, you know what, it more or less works, and it's a good time. But we just really want to get it in a polished state for you all. So hang in there. Your patience is worth it.
As Idaho also mentioned, multiplayer is currently possible. I have played with her for a few times now. It's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, like, aside from a few individual tiny wonky things, there are mods that have released as functional as ours currently is, and as complete as ours currently is.
We just want it to be fully fixed.
Yeah, we got a high bar.
Not especially high. We just don't want a broken thing for you guys. We want it to release. I think this was pretty good. Any further
Alright.
questions? This is the last minute. Ooh.
Yeah, it looks like we completed on time, which I wasn't sure we would.
Yeah, I thought it would take a lot less. Thank you guys. This was the hang up, the hangout, the Q&A.
Chill stream.
Yes, it was only 4.
Thank you, everybody, and we really appreciate your ongoing support.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you all. It has been pretty nice being able to share this stuff. Thank you all.
Yep. Look forward to the Dev Diary coming soon publicly, and
yes.
additional content not a terribly long time thereafter.
If your question wasn't answered, it's because there were a lot of questions, so we called them to have like half an hour of free-form questions.
And if you
Or because your
want-
question was a shitpost.
Yes.
If you want to get more teasers faster than your friends and lord that over them, sign up to become a Patreon today. Your money does not go to us, it doesn't buy us coffee, it lets us commission cool art and assets for the game. So you get
Yes.
back everything you give, basically.
I have received exactly 0 money during this time period, so
Single money.
I can assure you guys that all of the money goes into the pockets of Big Art.
Yeah.
Yep, I will say, with the exception of the Christmas art piece that was commissioned out of pocket by some of the devs, all of the other art you've seen from us has been paid for by the Patreon.
Yes.
And I've just put that link there in the chat.
And that's it. Thank you all for showing up.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone who was also here. It's been a pleasure.
Have a happy new year.
Bye.
Bye.